So how do you see the next 4 years? Do you think it'll be different to when he took over in 2016? He went straight from Trump Tower into the White House, fairly undernourished when it came to politics. It's a long time now. A lot of water's gone under the bridge. He spent his first term as president. He's been fighting to get back there ever since.
Yeah, Tim, the way I explain it to people is this. Whatever you liked about Trump 1.0, you're going to like more. Whatever you disliked about Trump 1.0, you're going to dislike more for part of the reason you just mentioned, which is he came sort of straight from Trump Tower to Washington, D.C., and in many ways wasn't really ready. They didn't expect to win back in 2016. Nothing could be further from the truth right now. They've been doing a lot of the foundational work, a lot of the vetting of cabinet members, not just cabinet. There's 4,000 personnel slots they have to fill. So they will hit the ground running. They'll be better at doing the stuff that you like and better at doing the stuff that you don't like because they don't have that steep learning curve that they had back in 2017.
What about COP29? He almost certainly will pull out of the Paris Agreement.
Oh, I think that's a foregone conclusion. He did it before. He'll do it again. You'll probably see a back and forth on that between Democrat and Republican administrations going forward. It's one of the most divisive issues here in the U.S. Not necessarily climate change, but how to handle it. And we will be producing more natural gas, more oil for sure, but certainly more natural gas under the Trump administration, which I happen to think is good for the world. Natural gas is much cleaner than oil. And we're proud to be the leading producer of that. But yes, you'll continue to see climate issues be a central feature of the divisiveness of American politics.
Mick, you've been around it a long time, particularly on the election trail. A lot of things are said. Not everything is done. One of the great challenges around the border is, the whole talk about mass deportation. There are some difficult things here, aren't there? There's lots and lots of people. We're talking around 12 million people. A lot of these people work in hospitality and other similar industries which are linked to big business. He's inheriting an improving economy. He doesn't want to damage it with things like this. It's going to be a challenge.
I absolutely agree. However, this image that has sort of been developed during the campaign of these shock troops going door to door in their jackboots, kicking people out of the country, I think is overblown. The incoming administration has already said where they're going to start. There's over 1 million people in this country right now who have already been through our court system and who have been denied the ability to stay, but they haven't been removed. So imagine that. You go in, you ask for asylum, you get your day in court. The court says, no, you're not entitled to asylum, you have to go home. And in the past, we've left people to simply go home by themselves. That's going to stop. So I think by the time they get through the 1 million people that are on that list, the message will go out that illegal immigration is no longer welcome here, and we'll be emphasizing legal immigration. It was very interesting and lost on a lot of people, Tim. In one of his last speeches before the election, Trump said, look, we got to let people in. We got to let a lot of people in. We just have to let them do it legally. That's going to be a dramatic change. I'd be curious to see how that goes. But yes, everybody recognizes the fact you're not going to round up 10 million people and ship them out overnight.
He's an older man. He'll be an old man by the time these 4 years are up. He'll be in his early 80s. How much will this next 4 years be a legacy piece? Will we see a more diplomatic, so to speak?
That's one argument. And I know him fairly well, and even I don't get a feel for what the second term is going to look like in terms of his sort of approach to it. Part of me, Tim, thinks that the primary reason he wanted to run was to clear his name from January 6th, clear his name from the loss in 2020, and sort of restore the winning nature of the Trump brand. And if that's the case, you might see him sort of step back a little bit and enjoy the job, which many presidents do in their second term, and start to focus on things like legacy. He may be traveling more, but we may be doing more state dinners, et cetera. Remember, one of the highlights of my time there was the state dinner with the government of Australia. But you may see him focus on legacy issues, and that's typical. The first piece of that puzzle, the biggest piece of that puzzle, the Trump tax cuts from 2017, which will be his first and primary legislative priority here because they expire next year, and he does not want the Trump tax cuts to go away.
He does have the mandate finally, obviously. He's going to have the Senate. He probably will get the House, but it'll be narrow. It's involved, isn't it? Like when you think of US Congress, when you think of US politics, you may have a strong leader and he has a mandate, but it is very, very convoluted, isn't it? The whole process that's pretty much in everything.
It is. You talk about the House of Representatives, of course, in our bicameral system, every piece of legislation has to pass the House and the Senate and be signed most times by the White House. And that very narrow margin of Republican control in the House is going to lead to all sorts of interesting negotiations where any 3 or 4 members might be able to get together and sort of pour cold water on the administration's agenda. Of course, they'll be under a lot of pressure from the very popular Republican president not to do that. But if they don't really like what they see, they can throw a spanner in the works. Yes, it's going to be hard to pass legislation. It always is in this country. That's why I think you'll see the president focusing more in the first 6 months on the things he can do without Congress. And he's got a lot of ability to do that on trade and tariffs, a lot of ability to do that on immigration, as we discussed before, and a lot of ability to do that on deregulation and breaking down the bureaucracy. So you'll see that legislative agenda on one hand, that's tax cuts. The other things, immigration, tariffs, et cetera, will be done through the executive branch.
I can see something I really like over your right shoulder, a set of golf clubs. It's my only passion and I'm poor at it. I hope that you get a game real soon. Thanks for having a chat with us and we'll catch up again.
Thanks, Tim. We'll play next time I'm down.